Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. I'm so excited to be here. It's another community event, and I'm very happy to be here. Welcome to the Level Up event, starting or transitioning to a Salesforce career. My name is Feiji. For those who don't know me, I am the Community Programs Manager, and I always bring you great events for you to level up and improve on your skills. And today is a very, very exciting and interesting, informative event. I'm sure there are lots of you guys who are interested in improving your skills in Salesforce, who want to transition, and who also want to ask questions to our Salesforce MVPs. So if you're here, you're in the right place. It's going to be an amazing, amazing, amazing talk. On the agenda, which we have packed, just allow me to share my screen for just a bit. Give me a moment. There we go. Can you guys see my screen now? Not yet. Okay, I think. Please let me know if you could see my screen. No. All right, please give me a second. Let me fix this. This is classic event entry, but we're going to have an amazing event. Can you guys see my screen now?
It was there, but then it disappeared.
Oops.
I can jump in.
Sure. Thank you, Vanessa.
There it is.
All right, so we are off to a great start. And on the agenda for today, I mean, this event is for you all to level up on your Salesforce. If you want to actually transition to Salesforce, or you want to start off and you're interested in Salesforce, what Salesforce is about and how you can, get started, this event is right for you. We'll be getting to have a chat with our panelists, so you get to meet the wonderful people. We're going to bring you so much information and answer all your questions. And then we're going to talk about, starting out your career with Salesforce, and then potential career paths you can take, and income as a Salesforce professional. And then we're going to dive into industry trends and certifications that you usually look out for. And then we're going to talk about our questions. We have so many questions that have been, asked before now. So thank you guys for joining us. So welcome everyone. First, our first panelist who I'd like to introduce you guys to, it's Itzel. Itzel is a Salesforce software engineer, and she's working with Apicero Inc. She's a certified MuleSoft and Salesforce developer, and she's currently working as a Salesforce admin group leader in charge of organizing, many activities online. And I love her mantra: where there's a will, there's a way, and it all adds up. Thank you so much for being here, Itzel. We're glad to have you here. Would you like to introduce yourself, or just, talk to us about how your Salesforce journey has been?
Okay, well, first, hi guys. I'm so happy to be here. Well, as you just read, I'm Itzel, and I'm from Mexico. I like to say that I'm from Mexico. I'm a software engineer, and I can say that basically my technology journey started about 5 years ago. Since I joined to the university, I decided to focus my career on technology. So I started using Java as a language, so I thought that these were gonna be my career path, but I don't know how this happened, or I call it destiny. So I just got an email. I just remember that I got an email from my university. If I'm honest, I almost never checked my email when I was in the university, but that time I decided to open an email. And when I read, it was an invite for a Salesforce graduation event that my university were organizing. And I read and I remembered that I saw, oh, that there were gonna be a lot of important guests, a lot of MVPs, a lot of companies, and the students could have the opportunity to show all their projects that they were working on. So then I thought, well, it could be a great opportunity for me. I like this part of exposing and talk to people, but I also like to develop. So I didn't think about it too much, and I just joined to the class. I didn't know anything about Salesforce, so it was just okay. I think this could be good for me, and I joined. But then I fell in love with Salesforce. I loved the community, and also I had the opportunity to have many teachers, many MVPs as teachers, and a lot of people who have been working or had been working in Salesforce. So I can say that I learned too much from them. And well, that's why I'm currently part of the Salesforce admin group. I'm working as a leader because I want to do the same. I think that I also learned from others. So now that's what I want to do to help others. Sometimes we think that we are not ready to help people because it's like, okay, I only have 1 year experience. I need to prepare myself more. But something that I have noticed is that it doesn't matter how much experience do you have. If even if you just have 1 day of experience, there's always somebody that it's from zero and it's just starting. So we can always help people to maybe make their life easier. So that's one of my purposes, to help people with what I'm learning, because I'm still learning. We never stop learning. So Safer has this opportunity and this community where you can meet a lot of important people, and or also people who is more experienced than you, and it's cool to know more perspectives. So I'm really happy to be part of this meeting. Obviously, share this space with people with more experience than me. And well, it's not just to share what I have learned; it's just also to learn from others. So I think that with these thoughts, we can improve faster and we can do a change in the technology world.
Thank you so much, Itzel, for being here. I know there are lots of, software engineers and lots of talents on here who are like you, who want to, start off, who want to also give back, and who have questions to ask you about, how you started off. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and, giving back to the community. All right, and our next panelist is Luke. Luke actually is an actor. I'll say he looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he turned into an accidental admin in 2007. He's been a Salesforce MVP since 2011. And Luke has been an architect, an admin, and developer for 20 years and is currently consulting for 2U and EDX. Lucas, your profile and your bio is amazing. You have years of experience. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us, how has your journey been? I mean, 20 years? Wow. You can't beat that.
Yeah, I did not expect this to be my career. I went to college and studied international relations, nothing to do with technology. And when I did get into Salesforce and wanted to start learning developing, the community gave me so much help. I got so many questions answered right away from multiple people, and so much support that I turned around and said, I need to give this back. And that's why I got involved in the community and led a user group and taught webinars online and just got involved wherever I could, whether it was mentoring one-on-one or teaching groups or writing blog posts to share things that I had learned. I've really appreciated that there's been this community to participate in and to help me grow and to help others grow. So I'm excited to see that Andela has been doing the same thing. And now that there's a Salesforce practice, I wanted to get involved and help Andela to get involved with our global Salesforce community.
Awesome. And I mean, you're a self-taught Apex developer. I'm sure a lot of people will have questions about, how to teach themselves to be like you pretty much. So thank you so much for being here, Lucas. All right. And next on our list is Becca. Now, Becca is a Salesforce senior consultant for Roastery Solutions. She is a 13 times certified Salesforce consultant. 5-time Salesforce MVP. Her journey is amazing. And she got her start through the Salesforce military, which is also amazing. And she loves working with the Salesforce community. Thank you so much, Becca. Your journey is, when I chatted with you earlier and you told me about how you got into Salesforce and, how your journey started, it blew my mind because, it just shows that you could do anything you set your mind to. So I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. Please share, how you walked into Salesforce.
So I won't read the slide. That was really what I was going to say. But so my husband had a heart attack when I was working as a middle school secretary and already knew that was a dead-end job. But we decided I needed a plan B because I really wasn't making enough money to support the family if something catastrophic happened. And then I was left on my own. So he worked for Salesforce at the time, found out about VetForce, which is now Salesforce Military. And I went and took the admin class and passed it. And that's where I started. I jumped into the community and started telling everybody I was certified and looking for a job, and just happened to find somebody here in Houston who was looking for a consultant that he wanted to train to be a consultant. He wanted somebody new, and that was me. So that's how I started. And a couple of months later, he had me learn Pardot, and I got Pardot certified and went to my community group leaders in Houston and was looking for a Pardot group, and they said, "Oh, we don't have one, but you should start one." I was like, "No, I don't know anything. I just got certified." And they said, "Well, nobody else is doing it. So if you do it, you're doing a better job than anybody else is doing here in Houston, because we have no one doing it." So that was when I really got into the community and started getting involved. And so started the Pardot group. Now I actually have left the Pardot group and lead the Houston user group. I started a Salesforce Saturday group, which we'll let Stephanie cover later. But I followed in Stephanie's footsteps there, but lead the Houston Salesforce Saturday group. And just really like giving back. I volunteer at Montrose Grace Place in Houston. You might have seen that on Twitter. We teach Trailhead to LGBTQ, homeless, and foster kids. They have a community night. It's really great. And then, what else was I going to say? Mine has blanked. But just anything I can do to give back to help people get to do, the same thing I have done and experience the life-changing events that Salesforce can give you. So, yeah.
Thank you.
And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Exactly. Thank you so much for giving back to our community. Really appreciate you being here. All right. And our next panelist is a senior Salesforce administrator at CareerWise. Lyndon is a 2-time certified Salesforce administrator. He's also a graphic/logo designer. I know that we have a couple of people who are also designers on here. So feel free to ask Lyndon so many questions about, how he started off. He's currently working at CareerWise, a nonprofit organization. Lyndon, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so how did you transition? From, design, you're also into design at the moment, but, you're working with Salesforce. What was that transition like for you?
I was always around computers, because even in high school, I had courses and classes that were centered around computers, fixing computers, learning about the internals. So I really got my start there. When I went to college back in Jamaica, I also got my associate degree in a computer a computer associate's degree, and I did a bit of programming there as well. So if I've always been in sort of the technology space, and then in 2017, I graduated from college here, and then in 2018 I went to a boot camp that was held by a nonprofit called Pep Up Tech that I'm pretty sure Steph will speak about later. And I got introduced to Salesforce there. So I'd already had my bachelor's degree by then in computers. And so having had that experience, and plus, learning Photoshop and all that for designing, I was always sort of in tune with learning software quickly. So learning this software that is Salesforce, it really didn't come as a challenge in that sense. So I picked it up quickly, and then, met Luke in 2018 at Dreamforce, and he referred me to his to you, as they was looking for an admin. I got in, and then the rest is history, as they say.
Awesome. What a journey. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Lyndon, for that. And thank you
Thank
for being
you.
here. All right. And last but not the least, we have Stephanie Herrera. Stephanie has been a Salesforce MVP since 2016. She's the founder and leader of the Salesforce Saturday group, just as Becca had mentioned earlier. I mean, she's a 7-time Salesforce MVP, a 6-time international keynote speaker. I mean, I'm not going to dive into this. I want Stephanie to introduce herself. You have such a wealth of experience. Thank you so much for being here, Steph.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, and I love being here with so many of those panelists that I know and have been in the community trenches with. Yes, I've been in tech for 24 years now. I got my start in tech at Dell Computers. I didn't have a college degree. My first job out of high school was working in the cotton fields with my grandfather, working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., picking the weeds in the cotton fields. So I never imagined that tech would be for me, but I was fortunate to live in Round Rock, Texas, where Dell was headquartered, and I got a job there starting in sales. And I did sales for the majority of my time at Dell. Also did some operations, and then I went to work for Apple, also doing operations. And then I got into the Salesforce ecosystem full time in 2012. With my background of working at Dell and Apple, that helped me transition into a role at Renew Data. And at that time, back in 2012, if you could spell Salesforce, you could get a job in the Salesforce ecosystems. I had recruiters reaching out to me all the time, even though I didn't have a college degree. I think, we're seeing a lot of questions about what do you need to transition into a role as a Salesforce admin or a Salesforce developer. And the number one thing that you need, in my opinion, is to be resourceful, proactive. Your background, your technical background or your school background is really irrelevant. You just have to have the need and the desire to learn. At Salesforce Saturday, our mantra is always be learning. And I started Salesforce. I actually started the first ever Salesforce Women in Tech chapter in Austin, Texas in 2014, because my experience at Dell, I had a lot of female leaders. And as a solo admin, I wasn't seeing that in the startups I was working in. So I wanted to create a space where we could create more female leaders, and that hopefully I would become one in the process. And then the next year I started Salesforce Saturday, which is we get up on Saturdays, we take our laptops to a coffee shop, and we help each other skill up on Salesforce. And it doesn't matter your experience level, everybody has something to share. Earlier, someone was saying, you have more experience. I like to look at it as everybody has a different kind of experience. And especially in technology, a lot of the things that you bring from your past lives or your past, colleges or jobs, they can somehow be used to transition into tech. It's just figuring out what your strengths are and leveraging those. And then in 2016, I started Pep Up Tech, which Lyndon was speaking about, and it's an organization that is for minorities and underrepresented communities to teach them Salesforce, give them access to our networks like Luke and Becca, and then to help them get jobs. And then in 2015, I also became a volunteer for Maravis. It's part of the Salesforce military that Becca mentioned earlier. It was started in Austin, and it's just like Pep Up Tech, but it's for veterans and their spouses. So we do the same thing. We teach them Salesforce. We give them access to our networks and we help them get jobs. And to me, the most important part of all of these is giving people access. I learned early on that even though I didn't have a degree, I worked really, really hard at Dell and Apple, but I wasn't being paid my worth. I didn't have people around me to make me believe in myself so that I would ask for more money or know what roles to look for. So I got really lucky when I found Salesforce. Those of us who do what we do, like Becca and Luke, who give back of our time, we recognize that we got lucky. So by giving back and creating these organizations and volunteering for the different organizations that help skill people up, we're basically trying to scale our luck, share as much of that luck and opportunity with other people's, because we know what it feels like to have been in a situation where you felt like you were without hope and you know you're working hard, but you just can't get ahead like the other people around you. I'm a big believer, you know, if there's a door that I need to go through, I will go through it. But I've learned through the Salesforce ecosystem that there's a lot of doors that I didn't know about that I needed to be walking through. And it's the community that helped show me those doors and helped introduce me to people. And that's how I grew my career. I went from a solo admin. I worked on 8 different Salesforce instances, 4 of which I owned, meaning the buck stopped with me. I worked the C-suite, I drove the roadmap, I decided what integrations went into Salesforce. I hired and developed the teams, admins, developers. I made the decisions. And then in 2019, I went into recruitment so I could figure out how to get more jobs for my communities. And I was born in Lubbock, Texas, in West Texas, surrounded by cotton fields. And now I'm living in London because of the Salesforce ecosystem, because of the community that helped level me up while I was trying to help level them up.
Awesome. That is the power of community. Steph, that's a powerful story. And for everyone who's on here, you can do absolutely anything you want to do with what you have right now. You just need to find those doors, as Steph has said. Awesome. So, I mean, we're going to start off with, just talking about early career. For those people who are interested in starting off their careers with Salesforce, and you're wondering, what do I need to do? How do I get started? We're going to be hearing a little bit about how our panelists, started their journey and what their advice is for you to, begin that journey with Salesforce, because it is here. You can do it with whatever you have, and you just need to be resourceful and be ready to learn. So I'm going to bring on stage Becca, Lyndon, and Lucas, so that we could talk about, starting off early with Salesforce. And Becca, I'm going to start off with you. Yes. So I'm sure you must have had some, challenges when you started off your career with Salesforce. Will you want to share some of those challenges and the steps you took to overcome them?
Sure. So since I was a middle school secretary before I transitioned into Salesforce, I had no business background. I have no software background. I mean, I could use Excel and I could run reports at school that everybody came to me to do because I guess they didn't want to. It was always like, I can't get this to work. So I would do it, but that was about it. So when I started, my first job was as a consultant. So I never touched a Salesforce org live.
Wow.
I didn't know about Trailhead until like that month. We had a Houston user group meeting. I went, they introduced Trailhead to us, and I became a Trailhead junkie. So, but even back in 2015, when I started, Trailhead wasn't what it is today. Now there's, over 1,000 different badges that you can get. And some of those are on, and this is where I would go now. Some of those are on, learning to be a business analyst, learning what questions to ask, learning what, how to diagram out a project, things that you need to know how to do that I didn't have back then. And I just had to learn by being thrown into the fire and just slowly learning it. But I think now there's a lot more resources out there for you to learn Salesforce. So if you haven't been to Trailhead, go to trailhead.salesforce.com. It might be a little overwhelming, but there's trails and trail mixes that you can take to learn different things. And It's really a great tool, and free. So yeah. And if you're in if you're in the military, I don't know what countries, somebody else might know, or I can Google it really quick. Salesforce covers as far as Salesforce military. It used to be just like the United States and the UK, but then I think they've expanded. And Stephanie might know this too, I don't know, but I'll Google it and I'll post it in the chat. It's a great program, and they reserve one spot in every class for a member of the Salesforce military to take that class for free. So when I took the Admin 201 class back in 2015, I didn't have to pay for it. It was a $3,000 class or $4,000. It's expensive. So yeah, so I had that challenge removed because of the Salesforce military. So if you are a spouse or a military member, that's a great avenue to go also.
Okay, thank you so much, Becca, for sharing that. And you guys, I'm gonna pivot to you. So, I mean, you were self-taught. You're a self-taught Apex developer. Like, how did you do that? We have lots of people on here who don't even know where to go or how to start. Looking back at your journey, what would you say now that people should do? Like, what do they go? Where do they go first? And what practical tips will you give them to, build their career in Salesforce?
So going from being an admin to being a developer was a big leap for me. I had to learn my first programming language. I had played around with HTML and JavaScript, but never built anything like professional. But I at least had some familiarity with programming from that. But to actually be able to use that on the job took me a lot of extra effort. I read through the guides online just to really understand it. And I'm talking about reading through like the technical guides, not on Trailhead, but the actual documentation, just to learn how to learn. When I needed to research something and understand how to use it, I wanted to know what is the source of truth for writing something in Apex. And more important was learning how to ask good questions. There are no stupid questions, but there are questions that are not well worded, that are not giving the other people who will help the information they need to answer your question. So it took me a while to get better at that, to realize I need to give examples, I need to explain why I'm doing this. And that way people can answer more easily. And they do. The Salesforce community is so great about answering your questions, answering them fast, thoroughly, teaching you where to learn more. I got so much out of it that's how I was able to learn Apex. I would research it. I would try a couple of things. If I couldn't figure it out, then I would ask a question. And usually I would get an answer that same day. And I could then put that in and get unblocked so I could move on to the next challenge in coding. And then what really helped me to learn is when I started teaching other admins the basics of Apex that I knew. As Itzel said earlier, even if you're only a year or two in, you have something that you can teach the people who are just at the beginning of that stage. You learn so much, they learn so much, and it just creates such a good, virtuous cycle in our community.
Thank you for that. And that's true. Most people just think that, they don't have the right amounts of experience to actually, teach, but you don't know how much you learn from actually teaching, because in the process, you are exploring other, perspectives. You're also sharing the knowledge that you have and also gaining insights from people who are learning on their journey as well. So thank you, Lucas, for that. And Lyndon, I'd like to ask you, you're 2 times certified. How was it like, preparing for your first Salesforce certification? And what certification do you believe that, people should start off with when it comes to Salesforce?
A lot of questions there. So I'll pivot Becca mentioned something, Trailhead. It's a tool created by Salesforce themselves, and it is very powerful in terms of learning. Like, and it's all free, by the way. So Trailhead is free. You can sign up for free. They walk you from the get-go, from setting up like your first like demo org and everything. So I used Trailhead to start preparing for my admin 201. That's the entry level. Even though I think now there's a new certification right before that one as well. So you can use Trailhead to prep for your admin 201. That's like your Salesforce admin certification. I also have a platform app builder certification that deals with like workflows, like automations and so on the platform as well. So Trailhead, very helpful with that. I also Googled some websites. There's sites like Focus on Force. There's some other ones that have like practice questions for each of the type of exams that gives you an insight to how the exam is built and centered, because it's 60 multiple choice questions, and they're all scenario based. And so there are sites out there that really help with getting your mind to understand how the exam is prepared and how you should approach the exam as well. And there are these sites, even like Udemy as well. There's a course by Mike Wheeler. I think one of the most popular courses for Salesforce admin on Udemy, and he walks you through all the basics of a Salesforce admin, how to get started and preparing for the exams. And a lot of these websites do show you what areas you fall short in. So like because the exam is weighted in various areas like security and other aspects. And when you go through these practice exams, they show you what aspects and what percentages you got for each, and it basically gives you an idea of where you need to maybe put some more studying in. So Trailhead first, then then YouTube as well is a good place to find persons who are teaching Salesforce as well. So there's a wealth of information out there.
Thank you so much, Lyndon. I hope everyone is, taking notes. Feel free to use the Q&A tab to ask questions. And I already see our panelists are chatting with our attendees. So thank you so much for that. I would love us to transition to potential career opportunities for Salesforce and income trends, because I know that there may be quite a few who want to learn what it's available for them. And I'd love to bring Itzel and Steph on stage. But I'll start with you, Luke. What do you, or your insights in income trends? If someone wants to start off, what would you say, as an early starter in Salesforce, what would you say that their income would look like based upon, your experience?
So my experience is mostly with the US markets. So I'll try to give some relative values. As a Salesforce admin starting out at a business in the United States, I think 50,000 is probably average across our entire big country. So more if you're in an expensive city like New York City or San Francisco, less if you are in a more remote region. And that is with just maybe a couple of certifications or an internship, some very basic skills, and where the company will expect you to be able to get started to help them, but you're not going to be building entire apps. You'll be probably working with more senior people. Then for a developer in the United States in Salesforce, that tends to start much higher, 80, 90, 100,000 a year. And that is a little bit less than someone coming out of college with a software engineering degree. They probably might get a bit more, but Salesforce developers also a bit more accessible. So that's what I think has really opened it up for a lot of people. It doesn't require that computer engineering degree. There are also a lot of consulting opportunities, and I think a lot of people use that as a path. I've worked with consultants all over the world, and particularly in South America. We were paying Globant, which is probably an Andela competitor out there. I think we were paying them between like $60 and $75 an hour for their Salesforce developers. So that would be obviously a little bit less per hour for the developers themselves. And that compares to United States-based companies where we were paying anywhere between $90 and $120 an hour to hire their developers. There has constantly been a demand for more admins, more developers. Obviously, more experience is what we're always looking for, but that's why we're here, to help you talk about how to get from that learning to getting more experience. So hopefully those questions will be coming in the Q&A, and we'll get to answer some of those to help you.
Thank you so much, Lucas. So, I mean, I know that we have a mixture of people in the audience, maybe people who want to be consultants, who want to be admins, who are developers. Steph, I'll come to you soon about, potential career paths in the Salesforce industry. But Isdil, I want to start with you as a developer. You mentioned you started off with Java. I'm curious to know what your pathway was like into Salesforce, what you started off with, and how you built up into getting a certification, and now actually working with Salesforce.
Well, I started with Java, so I could say that that was a little bit of advantage when I started with Salesforce, because, well, we have Apex, so it's a little bit similar. So if you have this programming background, can make your path easier. But, well, as you have mentioned before, it doesn't matter if you didn't have like an engineering degree, but obviously it's something that can make your life so much easier because you have some knowledge about it before you start. But yeah, obviously something that is really cool about Salesforce is that you have many career paths. And this is something, for example, we have read in the messages that there are a lot of people that maybe are asking about how to be an admin or how to be an architect or developer. But sometimes if there are people listening to us that doesn't know like which career path to choose, and they are just looking for options to maybe choose what matches more with what they are looking for. Salesforce has a Salesforce test that I discovered, and it's really cool because you can answer based on what you like, and you can have the result like, oh, your profile matches with being a developer or with being an admin. So that's an opportunity that you can use if you don't know like which career path you wanna use to start. But well, obviously it's a test, so everybody can change it. And well, we're gonna be learning with the time. And when I took my first certification, I was really nervous. It was my first certification. I was 20 years old, I guess. And yeah, it was really hard because we're here sitting in front of your computer, and it's very strict. You can't cheat, you can't look around, you have to be focused on the whole hour. And well, the questions are really tricky sometimes, but what is important is to have this experience. I have heard a lot of people that have failed the exam, and that doesn't matter. Sometimes, yeah, I know that it hurts if you fail. It hurts a lot of times. But yeah, what is important is to don't let that to stop you and continue. If you failed one time, prepare for the second one and be better for the second time. And something important as well is that sometimes the certifications can be expensive. So sometimes companies help you to grow up and pay for your certifications. But if you don't have this opportunity and you're walking alone, Salesforce also offers a lot of webinars. There are some Salesforce certifications day where there are some MPs, some people who have been working with Salesforce that teach you like how these exams are structured. And then after the webinar, you can get some vouchers and can make your life so much easier. And well, obviously, Salesforce gives a lot of opportunities. So I think that It's something that we can appreciate about this community, that you are never walking alone. And also that same platform is giving you a lot of opportunities to start and being part of this community. So that's how I
Couldn't
prefer
have
for
said
myself. Mhm.
Yeah, I was just wanting to say that you couldn't have said it any better. You guys should not be scared to, if you fail, you need to get up and do it again. I saw Lucas raise his hand there. I don't know if you had failed the certification before, but you see where Lucas is. I mean, 20 years and he's going and he's keeping it on. So, do not be discouraged. You have the community that is there to support you. And there's so many Salesforce communities that you could join that could support you in your journey as well. Steph, I would love to ask you, there's so many career paths with Salesforce. Could you shed more light into the different pathways that we have in Salesforce and the people can look into?
Yes, I actually just shared a link that Trailhead has on. The Trailhead has, they do a really good job of breaking down the different paths. I want to touch on something that Luke mentioned earlier about developers needing to know the admin role. If you're going to be a developer or a Salesforce architect or a Salesforce consultant, you do need to start with the admin role. You need to start where you at least understand it. Go on Trailhead. There's an beginner admin path. There's an advanced admin path. Take those trails. You need to understand what it is to be an admin before you start trying to be a developer or a technical architect, because what you want to do is code should be last resort. Salesforce has created this great out-of-the-box platform, which they do 3 releases a year on, which they're always updating, which they're always providing support for. So you want to use those resources first before you start going out and doing code. So you need to understand what it is to be an admin, what it is to be declarative before you go and try to be programmatic. So that's what I really want to get across. Like, again, I shared the link that has all the different paths. You can be a business analyst, you can be a project manager, developer, architect, solutions architect, technical architect. You've got the architect that's not technical, but is more strategic. And then you got the technical architect. And also depending on the company, they can call it a business analyst and a project manager can be combined, and they might just call it project manager. So a lot of it depends on the company itself. If you're working for a smaller company, you're doing all the roles. You're an admin, you're a project manager, you're a BA, you're just not called that. So again, it depends on the organization you're at, just like when Luke did a great job of breaking down the salary ranges and what to consider. It's the same way with roles. And again, our experiences here in the US, if you really want to know what it is where you live, go to the user groups. A lot of the user groups that do salary reviews, they collect information to share what the salaries are in an anonymous way amongst the people that attend that user group. And if they don't, have them reach out to those in the States and ask them to get the format, and you can do that. But a lot of times if you ask at the user group, what's the salary range you're seeing for a developer in this area? People will give you a salary range, so that, because sometimes people get really uncomfortable about talking about salary. So if you ask, what's the salary range for a developer or an admin in this area, that'll give you an idea of what the pay is for a developer. But I will tell you, David Liu has said, if you don't know who David Liu is, you need to look him up. He's one of the most famous and brilliant Salesforce developers in the ecosystem. He works for Google. Last I checked, he ran 5 of their biggest instances, meaning he owned it and hired the talent at Google. He has always said, do not become a developer for the money. If you don't enjoy coding, if you don't enjoy that world, you're not gonna make any amount of money because you're not gonna be good at it. So you need to be able to enjoy what you're doing. But I will say, if you want to be a developer, don't let that scare you. Don't be afraid of it, because when I went to India Dreaming back in 2017, they had 1,400 people attending India Dreaming, and all of them, men and women, were developers. And it blew my mind. I only met one admin there, and it was a guy. All the rest were developers. And it just kind of goes that they have this mindset and they help each other learn. Like, I'm going to be a developer. I'm not afraid of it. I'm just going to go do it. And I've got people around me who've done it, and I'm going to lean on them. When I run into a problem, I'm going to ask them how they solved it. So again, community, that's what's going to help you with this. If you want to know really the true salary range in your area, go to your community groups, ask around, and also keep showing up. Don't just come and take, go and give back and share your knowledge. But that's the best way to find out what roles are also being looked for in your area. Where are they lacking a skill set? And that's, if you want to get niche, like knowing CPQ or Einstein or AI now, there's a lot of different marketing cloud. It seems like there's not enough people that know the marketing world or the commerce cloud. So find out in your area, if you're wanting to stay in your area, what is it that it is, what's the skill set that people are looking for, and what the salary ranges that they're seeing in your area.
Wow. I mean, if there's anything that I'm taking away from our conversation is the power of community. It can't be overemphasized. The way you know what's the right path for you, the right career path for you is, with community, asking people who have done it before, people who have been there, and they'll be able to, lead you in the right direction. So thank you so much, Steph, for that. And we're going to talk about certifications now, and I would love to bring Becca and Lyndon on stage. There's so much industry trends and certifications. I mean, we have some of our panelists 13 times, 7 times certified, and they're valuable certifications, that we need to take for our career growth. I'd love to start with you, Steph. You mentioned, the power of community and, asking around. For certifications, what's your advice? Like, what should people start off with when it comes to Salesforce certifications?
This is where I'm going to throw Salesforce Saturday out there, and even Becca mentioned this earlier. Salesforce Saturday is, again, it is global, it is all over the world. I need to get the website updated with the locations, but because of lockdown, a lot of us went virtual, so there are still a lot of virtual Salesforce Saturdays going on right now. So I'll send a list and get it out to y'all so y'all can follow that. But basically, it really is, it's people who do Salesforce showing up and teaching each other how to do Salesforce. You get a lot of people who do study groups at Salesforce Saturday. They also do BAM, Be a Multiplier, does a lot of study groups. Again, these are free resources. Salesforce Saturday is completely free. BAM is completely free. It's great to study in a group because you can go through the questions together and answer the questions, and everybody has a different perspective, and everybody works at different organizations and they do things differently. So it really helps you get a better comprehensive understanding of the material than if you're just studying by yourself and on your own. Now, there are some people that are great at that. I am not one of them. I'm not one that can just study. I can memorize, but that's not going to do me any good. I'm going to have that certification memorized, but I'm not going to really be able to leverage it and use it when I need it. So I would strongly encourage, again, in the community, Salesforce Saturdays are a great way to do it. And if there's not one in your area, start one. When I started the very first one in Austin, Texas, only one person showed up. It was just me and her, and she was studying for her admin certification, and I was studying for my Dev 401 certification. And we just kept showing up. And the next month we had 2 more people join us. The next month we had 4 more people join us. And for like 6 months, there was 6 of us that were showing up once a month to Salesforce Saturday. And then after that, we enjoyed it so much, we started meeting every Saturday. And we were just, studying together. We were problem solving together. And once you start problem solving together, you get a better understanding of how the platform works. So there's a lot of different resources. I'm a big fan of meeting in person or meeting virtually and having a study group and studying together. As we all learn, you go faster when you go as a team. Everybody knows Michael Jordan. If you don't, you've been living under a rock. He's amazing, and I love him. And I've seen The Last Dance I don't know how many times. And the thing that I got from The Last Dance is Michael Jordan was great all by himself, but he could not win championships on his own. He had to learn how to work with his team. He had to learn how to lean on his team and make them stronger, and they made him stronger. And that's when he became a championship, and they won all those championships. On his own, he couldn't do that. It's the same way with the community. It's the same way with knowledge. That's why Salesforce Saturday, our mantra is always be learning. You're constantly learning. You don't want to stop learning, especially in technology. You have to, because it's always, it's always outdated the next day. So lean on the people in your community. Everybody wants to, talk to people who've gotten to the top. No, lean on the people who are going through it with you right now, because they're seeing it. They're doing the work. They're going to be able to level you up a lot faster than someone who's already done it, because they're seeing what's going on right now. So yeah, I'm a big believer in study groups, in person or virtual, to help get those study for those certifications.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. And I love, Innocent actually says there's one in Kenya. So thank you for sharing that. If there's one in your city, please share on the group so that we can get, connected. It would always love to, build communities in different, cities. So thank you, Innocent, for that. And Itzel, I know you mentioned this before, about, there's some technologies that, people could have that leverage them in, growing their careers. Well, what's your advice for developers? Are there specific technologies that have an advantage, so to speak, when, they're starting off their careers?
Yeah, I guess that Java is one of the best first languages we can use to start with Salesforce. Well, maybe some HTML, JavaScript, but basically Java is the best one for developers. And I think that once you understand this language and also this approach of objects, etc., Salesforce is easy, easy, easy. So that's like an advice that I can give for developers. You can start from Java and you can understand better Apex, you can understand better how Salesforce works. And well, sometimes we only talk about the Salesforce level 1, developer level 1, but also if you want to start like with a little bit with more calm, there is a new certification that Salesforce Associate that it's really helpful for everything who is starting, because this, like somebody else said before, you can start from admin. It's important to start from admin. I guess Stephanie told us that. So we need to start from admin, but also the associate certification could be great to start knowing the concepts. That's something really important. It doesn't matter the path that you choose. You have to understand the platform, because that's one of the biggest problems we have, at least at my university. When I started in Salesforce, most people didn't know what was Salesforce in my university. So I remember that people normally check the list of classes that we had, and they always chose to be maybe something about web and web programming, Java programming. And I remember that when I chose to be part of the Salesforce, most people told me like, oh, why? It's not famous. At least in my university, it wasn't famous for us. So it was like, well, I like it. But most people told me like, no, 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 web programming, it's fashion now, or it's important now. It's more important. Most people need a website. So I don't know, but I was just having this feeling that I would do something in this industry with Salesforce. But I can say that after I decided to join to the class, after I decided to start sharing in my social media about what was I doing, and my friends and a lot of people started joining as well. So I think that it's something important as well to be able to don't hear many. It's important to hear others, but also it's important to follow what you're feeling. So that's really cool for us to follow our intuition. And yeah, if somebody says don't do it, but you feel that you need to do it. Because yes, I know that we can hear a lot of experiences, and we can say, well, if this person did it, I can did it. But also, if this person didn't do it or haven't achieved this goal yet, you can still do it. You can be the first one. So that's another mantra that I follow, that yes, it's important to hear experiences. And that's why I always want to share what I think, but it doesn't have to be what you think as well. It's just my experience based on my life, based on my environment. But also, if you have a different environment, you can create your own story. So that's why I think that this career path can grow up, and we can have more stories to share. And that's really cool about the community. We have a lot of different stories, but that doesn't have to be yours, but you can create your own story.
Thank you so much, Itzel, for that. And we're gradually running out of time, and there's still a lot to talk about. Becca, I'm going to ask you this, and then we'll transition to Q&A. You're 13 times certified. Like, I mean, that's impressive, very impressive. How did you know which certifications to take? Where did you start off from? I'd love for you to.
So here I'm comparing myself. I was going to say it's not as impressive as 20, Lucas. But I started with the admin cert because I had no background at all. And I knew I needed to have a certification to get my foot in the door because I had no experience. I mean, you can get a job in the Salesforce industry with no certifications if somebody gives you a shot because you've got experience. I didn't have that. So I went with that one first. Pardot consultant was next because at that time there was no prerequisite for it. Now you have to take the specialist test first. And the reason I did that is because my boss was having me learn Pardot for a project he had sold a month before he hired me. So I had to learn it quick. So I did that. And then I did go back and get the specialist once they came out with the requirement. They required us to go back and get the prerequisite. But then I just kind of looked at what the next stepping stone would be, like the next level of difficulty and understanding. So I think I might have gotten app builder next, which is what I recommend people to do that come to Salesforce Saturday because they're very similar. And if you can pass the Salesforce admin test, which I think is probably one of the harder tests you'll take because it's the first one you take and you have to learn how Salesforce tests work. They do a lot of pick 3. And if you miss one of those 3 options, you miss the question. So that's hard to get used to for a lot of people. But then I took the Sales Cloud, which is also really similar. Those 3 tests cover a lot of the same materials. So if you can pass admin, app builder, Sales Cloud consultant, that's 3 certifications, which looks really great on your resume. So that's usually what I tell people to do. Most of the other ones take some experience behind it, like Service Cloud. I think it's a lot easier if you have been working in Service Cloud. The Experience Cloud, which is the communities, same thing. Plus that one's got a lot of memorization, Stephanie. Licensing, you have to know licensing for the community test. So, and then just other ones are things I get interested in that I want to take. Once I had the Pardot certifications, I joined a marketing team at my last company that wanted me to learn Marketing Cloud, and I didn't do it and didn't do it and didn't do it. And I have my Marketing Cloud email specialist because that's kind of like the first one you would probably take for Marketing Cloud. But then this year I got my admin in Marketing Cloud. So yeah, just whatever is interesting. Plus now I've decided to just kind of work my way up the pyramid, the archetype pyramid. So that's going to take a while.
That is so impressive. Like it is really impressive. So like you guys start off with, with the maybe start depending on what you are interested in, you could start off there and then use community, and whatever you start getting interested in, you could now build from there. I could see that lots of things that Becca has said is, it was based upon interest, and she just kept going and going. All right, we are really running out of time. Most of our questions have already been answered by our wonderful panelists. Really appreciate you guys for being in the chat, answering all the questions. There's one question though, which I believe we could, spotlight right now for, you guys to answer. I don't know who would want to take this. This person has 10 years of experience as an IT instructor. And 10 years is valuable experience, CCNA, MOS, and he wants to build a Salesforce career. What path would you recommend, and what's the best way to start? Luke, I'd love for you to take this.
Okay, so CCNA, I think that's the Cisco certification. I didn't Google it quickly. So if that is the case, you're going to have a very deep back-end knowledge of how the internet works. And Salesforce, although we usually think of it as a very customer-facing and business people-facing software, there's a lot going on in the DevOps space with Salesforce now too, and that might overlap really well with a lot of your experience. There's a lot about how to build integrations between different systems using the APIs. and a lot of technologies that are more recent, such as event-driven platforms. So Salesforce also is able to handle those. So if you've got more back-end experience than front-end coding, Salesforce DevOps is a really good way to make that transition into the Salesforce world.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. And I guess we have I think we still have 2 more open questions, which we could take. I mean, the first one says to join late, where could you get a recording of this session? I can answer that. I will be sharing the recording with the communities before the end of day tomorrow. And also the resources which we've been able to gather together, we'll also share with you. And I think we'll just take this last question. Salesforce in the last year cut headcount. What advice can your panelists offer on how to avoid getting retrenched when you've invested so much in learning this skill? Steph, do you want to take this?
Yeah, so Salesforce, that's Salesforce, the company that did a lot of headcount. Not all of us, none of us work for Salesforce. We're all customers of Salesforce. We work in the ecosystem for businesses that use the Salesforce platform. So, but you are seeing a lot of layoffs in tech in general, and there's just, really I can't tell you how to protect yourself from getting laid off. Nobody knows how to do that. If we did, we would be able to avoid that. But you will never, there's one of my favorite quotes is by B.B. King. And it says, the one thing that nobody can take away from you is knowledge. So it will never, ever hurt to be skilling yourself up and to be learning. So don't ever look at it as like, I've invested all this into Salesforce and Salesforce, the company, just did layoffs. So that's not, you can always use that knowledge somewhere. Salesforce, the company, is not the only company in the world. There are companies everywhere that are always looking for tech talent. You've got to, again, what I said earlier, you don't need a technical background. You don't need to go to college. You have to be resourceful. It's about being resourceful and leveraging your network and your community and being involved in the community. And if you do that, you're going to be you're better safeguarding yourself and building in better protection for yourself. Hope that answered the question.
Thank you so much, Steph. Yes, that answers the question. And we are out of time. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, answering questions, connecting with our community. We are going to share, the panelists, their LinkedIn pages. You could follow them on LinkedIn. You could join Salesforce Saturdays and also start a Salesforce Saturday in your community as well, and start off there. But we'll be sharing this recording in the different communities, so watch out for that tomorrow. We'll share that as soon as possible. But thank you so much, guys. If there's anything you should take out of this call, is community is powerful. Relationships are powerful, and it could be your ticket to the next level. So keep investing in communities and keep learning and giving back as well, because with that, you never ever stop, growing. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much, our panelists, Yuka, Stephanie, Becca, Lyndon, and Itzel. Your journeys are amazing, and we appreciate you for this and for joining us, and we look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you so much, guys, for this. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you too.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all. Bye.